All right, welcome to Chef's Take. I'm your host, Michael Zavlaris. Today, I will be recapping the wild card round from last week. I'll talk about the Eagles, of course, because, Eagle Rants is a part of this stream. And I will give my picks on the divisional round matchups. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, wild card round just passed this week, and we had some thrilling games. The Niners and Seahawks. Let's get started with that. First of all, I went 5-1 on my picks last week. That's not bad at all. The only game I got incorrect was the Cowboys and Buccaneers game. I thought Tom Brady could pull it off, but Dallas winning the game was always in the back of my mind. I wasn't surprised that they won, but it felt like playoff Tom was going to come out, and unfortunately, he did not. So, there's that. But anyway, let's get back to the Seahawks and Niners. It was an entertaining first half, not going to lie to you. Following a late hit on Geno Smith because of Jimmy Ward, the Seahawks stole 3 points going into halftime, making it 17-16. Seattle scored all 17 of their first half points in the second quarter. And it looked like Seattle was making San Francisco run for their money. But San Francisco woke up in the second half, outscoring the Seahawks 25-6 with a final score of 41-23. So, they look pretty good. They had us in the first half, not going to lie. That's pretty much what happened. So, yeah. Brock Purdy did pretty well. 3 touchdowns, 332 passing yards, and a 131.5 QBR. Christian McCaffrey, 15 carries, 119 yards, 2 catches, 17 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Then you had Deebo Samuel with 6 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown, with his touchdown being 74 yards. That's something that's always been the thing with the San Francisco 49ers. They always get run after the catch. They've always been good with that. Kittle, really good with that. You cannot bring that guy down after the catch. It's almost impossible. Look what he did against the Saints a couple years ago. Deebo Samuel. It was a 10-yard pass from Purdy, and then he took it all the way to the house. This is a really explosive offense, and they have a really good defense too. So, yeah, they look really good right now. So, that's it for the Niners and Seahawks game. We actually had, a couple divisional round games. The Seahawks and Niners being one of them. And we had the Dolphins and Bills game, but we'll get to that in a minute. Next, we had the Chargers taking on the Jaguars. If I remember correctly, I said I think the Chargers are going to win, but I ended up picking the Jaguars because I said fuck it. You cannot rule out Doug Peterson. I've always been rooting for Doug Peterson. He brought the Eagles our first Super Bowl, and I will forever be thankful for that. He has a statue in front of the link because of that. And I like Trevor Lawrence. That was a hell of a game. The Jaguars looked like shit in the first half. There was a point in the game where it was 27-0 Chargers. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions in the first half, 3 of them going to Asante Samuel Jr., a player I wish the Eagles selected, but we got Landon Dickerson instead, who has been a really good interior lineman for us. So I can't really complain. So yeah, the first half, the biggest lead was 27-0 Chargers. But the last drive of the first half was going to Jacksonville, and they ended up stealing 7 points as Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown pass to Evan Ingram, if I'm not mistaken. So, 27-7 going into halftime. 20-point game. I was talking to my friend Ryan. He said, the Jaguars are going to come back and win this game. It was in the back of my mind going into halftime. I'm like, hey, it's only a 20-point game. You can't rule out the Jags just yet. And that's when he said, yeah, they're going to win the game. because, like I said, only a 20-point game. Coming back down 20 is very doable, especially how this season has gone on. Like how not just Jacksonville, but in general, with all the comebacks we saw this year. The Colts, granted it's the Colts, they were up 33 points, 33 to nothing. No, they were up like 30 nothing. Point being, they were up by so much, and they lost the game. Just like that. So, I definitely said, hey, it's possible, and I was hoping it would happen. And it did. That was the worst collapse that, aside from the Colts game, from a personal standpoint, from the games I've watched, that is easily one of the worst collapses you can ever imagine. The Chargers outscored the Jags 27-7 in the first half. We already discussed this. And in the second half, the Jaguars outscored the Chargers 24-3. It's not about how you start. That's always been something of mine. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And the Jaguars did really well. Trevor Lawrence threw 3 touchdown passes in the second half. So, Joey Bosa, you could say he was part of the reason why the Chargers lost. He had a couple personal foul penalties against him, which set up the Jaguars with better field position and taking the 2 points at the 1 yard line instead of 2. All Trevor Lawrence had to do was snap the ball and reach his arm over, and then boom, 2 points. So there was that. Doug Peterson, that was a good call going for 2. They were playing for the win at that point, because at that point, before the 2 points, it was 30-26. If they got to 2 points, and if they held the Chargers to another stop, all they had to do was march down the field and get a field goal, and they win the game. That's exactly what happened. So, yeah, let's talk about the it was 3rd and 1. I'm surprised Doug called a passing play on 3rd and 1. Honestly, with me, I would have ran the ball at least, even a QB sneak, even if it's a 3rd and 1, because Trevor Lawrence is 6'6". He's going to get it. He just has to fall straight forward, and he has the first down. But Doug Peterson, who is one of the most aggressive coaches in the league, decided to pass. It was incomplete. 4th and 1. Trevor Lawrence lines up under center. It looked like it was going to be a QB sneak. Then he didn't like the call, and Doug called a timeout before they snapped the ball, and it looked like it was going to be a handoff. So they go right back. 4th down, except this time they have 3 running backs in the backfield. Something you never see unless you're the Eagles, where you'd have to push the we use the that's another thing I'll talk about in a second, our QB sneak tactic. He goes with a outside run with ETN, who gains like 20 plus yards, and that put them in field position to win on a field goal. So yeah, I'm surprised Brandon Staley wasn't fired. They fired Joe Lombardi, but they didn't fire Staley, which I'm actually shocked about. Generally speaking, offensive and defensive coordinators are usually the scapegoats. Then it goes to the coaches. Then it goes, the head coach. But I wasn't surprised they fired Lombardi, but I was surprised they didn't fire Brandon Staley, because he has a really good team under his belt, and he didn't get them to the playoffs last year when they had a good team last year, and this year they barely squeaked in. And I shouldn't say barely, but last game of the season, in the regular season, you start all your players when you're locked with the 5th seed, and Mike Williams gets hurt. I don't know why. I understand getting some rust off, but play them for a couple drives, but don't play them the whole game, because I think that fucked them over. And they get into the playoffs, and they blow a 27-point lead, just like that. So, yeah, that's not good. So anyway, aside from that game, let's get on to the other ones. We have the Dolphins at the Bills. This was another divisional game. The score was only 34-31. I didn't like how the Bills looked that game, especially when the Dolphins had Skylar Thompson under center. They could have easily won that game if they knew how to snap the ball. Jesus, like, every time they were calling a play, I was just looking at the clock. I was looking at the play clock, and it kept going down to 1 every single time. And there were times where the offense got lucky they weren't flagged for a delay of game. Like, do they not know how to manage the clock? Do they not know how to snap a ball? There were so many instances where that happened. I don't get it. And like I said, the Bills, like Josh Allen, granted, he had 352 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, but he turned the ball over 3 times. 2 picks. One of them, at the top of my head, if I remember, wasn't his fault. It bounced off of a receiver, and he fumbled. It depends on what Josh Allen you see. Like, recently, like the second half of the season, I don't know what happened. I know he had his elbow thing, but he just didn't look like himself. He knocked himself out of the MVP race. That award's going to go to Mahomes now. But yeah, you don't know what Josh Allen you're going to get. He completed 59% of his passes. Diggs was Diggs. Gabe Davis was Gabe Davis. We're not surprised there. But it was concerning. Like, these two of the divisional games, the Dolphins and Bills game and the Ravens and Bengals game, those were really close games when one of the teams had a backup quarterback. If they had Tua, now, you can't play the what-if game, but to me, and I think many people will agree, if Tua was playing against the Bills, the Dolphins probably would have won the game. They are a top offense when Tua's playing, assuming he's not playing on a concussion. Like, I really think he should retire. With everything he went through this year, or at the very least, take a year off. He shouldn't risk his health. Seriously, I don't know how this medical staff still has a job. He gets a concussion, then he plays the next game. He suffers a concussion in the first half. They force him to play. I shouldn't say force, but they let him play in the second half. There is something wrong with that team. I don't know. The NFL is not doing anything about it. They don't give a shit if the player gets a concussion. They don't care. But I don't know. If Tua played, I really think the Dolphins would have won the game. Because like I said, they are a top 3 offense with Tua under center. But he wasn't playing, and they didn't win the game. So that's the NFL for you. Next game, we had the Vikings and Giants. This game did not surprise me. Daniel Jones played probably the best game of his life. He completed 69% of his passes, 301 passing yards, and 78 rushing yards. He's the first player in postseason, and I believe NFL history too, to have over 300 passing yards and over 70 rushing yards, something like that. He's the first player to do something during that game. He looked good. Isaiah Hodgins looked good. Saquon Barkley he only carried the ball 9 times, which is less than half of what he usually gets in the regular season. He usually gets a little over, he gets at least 18 carries a game. This game he had 9, but he did get 2 touchdowns out of it and 5 catches for 56 yards. He had a Christian McCaffrey kind of game. He's perfectly balanced between rushing and receiving. I hate to sound like a doubter, but while they did play good games, it was against a shitty defense. However, that's what you're supposed to do. It's the same thing with the Eagles. people are saying, oh, well, they have an easy schedule. I'm like, well, if we lost some of these games, you guys would be like, oh, they really lost to this team? Really? You can't win in that situation. We did what we're supposed to. We beat the living shit out of some of these teams. What are we not supposed to? Are we supposed to keep it a close game just to fit your agenda? You can't win in this argument. But the Giants did what they were supposed to do. They took advantage. That's what the Giants do. Brian Daboll is a great coach. I think he's going to win Coach of the Year. They attack your weaknesses. And the Vikings defense as a whole is just awful. That's why they did well. I mean, they should have done well because, it's a horrible defense. But, yeah. They did what they were supposed to. They beat a shitty defense. And let's talk about the horrible final play for the Vikings. It's 4th and 8. Kirk Cousins throws a check down to TJ Hawkinson. You don't do that. That is something a rookie would do. Joshua Dobbs did it against the Cowboys. And that was like his first or second career start. You don't do that. You're supposed to... Look, if Justin Jefferson is double or triple covered, you have to throw to him. No matter what. You have to give him a chance. Look at the Bills and Vikings game. Kirk Cousins gave him a shot. And he converted. He snagged it like one of the best catches I've ever seen. But no, you throw a check down to TJ Hawkinson, who is already being coated by a defender. Like, what the fuck? You don't do that. So, this game did not surprise me. The Vikings are frauds, and I'm just happy this happened because Viking fans were like, oh my god, why are we so low in the power rankings? We're 13-4. This is exactly why no one gives you the respect you guys think you deserve. Because you either win very, very close games. Now, granted, a win's a win, whatever. But you're streaky. You either get blown the fuck out, like we did. We blew them out. The Cowboys blew them out. The Packers blew them out. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. I'm glad this happened. I saw this coming. You never know with the Vikings, but this was expected. So, yeah, their defense is horrible. I went over that. I'll continue to say it again. And that's why they lost. So, and I believe Kevin O'Connor, I don't know if it's, I think Shannon Sharp said something, but I don't know if he was exaggerating or what, but supposedly Kevin O'Connor said, oh, I should have told Kirk Cousins that 4th down play should have went to Jefferson. You're paying this guy over $30 million. He shouldn't. He shouldn't be told. He should know this. He's done it how many times this season? I think every single win the Vikings had was within one possession. He should know this. There are so many game-winning drives this year. He should know that you have to give it to your best playmaker and not a check down on a 4th and long. Not really long, but still. He should know this. You don't have to tell him. You shouldn't have to tell your $30+ million quarterback that. But that's the Vikings for you. Don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, they're frauds. We all know this. Matt was having a field day. So, yeah, there's that. Next, we have the Ravens at Bengals. I didn't really watch this game. I watched a little bit of it, but I really wasn't paying attention because, the Sixers were on. I was under the impression that the Bengals were going to have a field day, but then I need to remember, look, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen, especially if it's an in-division playoff matchup. Tyler Huntley was that quarterback, and the final score was 24-17. I did, in fact, watch it live when he went for the QB sneak, but the ball got smacked out of his hands, and Sam Hubbard took it back for a touchdown. And that was it. I think that was the last touchdown of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was it. If they scored there, Who knows what would have, if the Ravens scored there, who knows what would have happened. But I didn't like how the Bengals, I watched the highlights though. I didn't like how the Bengals and Bills looked this weekend. Because the opposing team's backup quarterbacks were not playing. And I believe, too, if Lamar played, even if, like, Lamar was hurt, I think they would have won. But, like I said, it's the NFL. So, yeah. I just didn't like... That game, like, you know, that was a game-winning play. They almost won. They were so close, actually, on the Hail Mary at the end, now that I remember. I forget who it was, but the Ravens receiver, like, the ball was ready to go down, but he was so close to catching it until he didn't. But whatever. That would have been, like, so close to being, like, a really, like, pretty good comeback. But it didn't happen. Oh, well. And that leads me to the last game of Wildcard Weekend, and that's the Cowboys traveling to Tampa Bay. Oh, my God. The Buccaneers did not look good at all. Brady didn't look good at all. Some of these passes, like, that looked nothing like Brady at all. So many passes were hitting the dirt, and this is, like, one of the most he's, like, a very accurate quarterback. Every pass I've ever seen him throw was on the money. This game, a lot of his passes were in the dirt. And even when he threw a pick, I didn't know if he was trying to throw it away or what, but that. I think at that, when he threw the pick, I just knew they weren't going to win the game. Like, I think that was like the nail. That was so early in the game, too, but it was like a nail in the coffin. Dak Prescott had 5 touchdowns. That was easily the best game of his career. 305 passing yards. 76 of his passes were completed. And, yeah, his rushing touchdown, he pulled a Peyton Manning with the bootleg. So, yeah, Dalton Schultz, 7 catches, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches, 68 yards. He really wasn't getting a lot of targets that game. But, yeah, the Buccaneers almost made a run for the Cowboys' money at the end of the game. But that's an almost. They scored a touchdown. They recovered the onside kick. And on the first play after the onside kick, Brady throws a deep ball to a wide open Mike Evans who drops it. And they had all 3 timeouts. If he got that touchdown, that would have been a 10-point game in all 3 timeouts. So, could have been possible if they got another onside kick. But we'll never know. Now, I did pick the Buccaneers to win this game. This was the only one I didn't get. But I wasn't surprised. So, and people are shitting on the Cowboys for, saying, like, oh, they beat an easy team. That is true. However, I have to be a consistent person. They did what they're supposed to do. They did their business. They got the job done against a horrible team. Like I said, the Eagles faced that all year. They're like, oh, well, this is a bad team. The Eagles haven't played anybody. They're a bad team. Of course they're going to crush them. Like, what? Do you not want them to crush them? Do you want it to be a close game? Do you want them to lose just so you can shit on us even more? Like, you can't win in this situation. So, the Cowboys, they did their job. They beat a team that they should have beaten, and they beat them by a lot. That's how it's supposed to go. And, oh my God, Brett Maher, what the hell happened? He missed his first 4 PATs. That's absurd. He went 1 for 5. Now, with Mike McCarthy, I don't know why they didn't go for 2 at all, because after if they miss once, okay, missed kicks happen, but if they miss it twice, I feel like if I was McCarthy and like he missed it the second time, that's when I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to risk it anymore. I would just force him to go for, I would have him go for 2 instead. And even depending on the length of the field, if it was like 4th down, I would still go for it. But no, he missed not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. And I'm so surprised, even after the 3rd one, they didn't even decide to go for it on 2. They didn't decide to go for 2. It makes no sense. I don't know why they didn't do it, but whatever. So, now the Cowboys, they will be playing the 49ers on Sunday, and that should be a really good game. That is one of the best football rivalries in the history of the sport. The team of the 80s, the team of the 90s, they always clashed in the playoffs. So, should be a good game. Both have really good defenses. Who knows how Brock Purdy is going to do? Because, like I said before, I don't want to be that guy, but Brock Purdy hasn't played a good defense. I mean, he's getting the job done, yes. You know, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's making the right reads. He's not forcing anything. But he has Kyle Shanahan as his coach, one of the best offensive minds in football. And he has a lot of playmakers on offense. He has McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk. He has all of those guys. So it makes the job a lot easier. And on top of having Kyle Shanahan and a bunch of playmakers, he hasn't played against good defenses. He's going against the Cowboys now, who has a good defense. How will he do against them? We'll see. Like I said, I would like whoever plays against the Niners, if it came down to a quarterback duel where the opposing offense is getting the job done, forcing Purdy to throw a lot more, I would like the opposing team's chances. Because the defense has been carrying, but like I said, Purdy's been doing what he's supposed to do. He's been making the right reads and whatnot. But most of his passes were because of yards after catch. We'll see what happens. But he's going against a good defense on Sunday. So we will see what happens. If it came down to a quarterback duel, I would like the opposing offense's chances. I would like the opposing team's chances. Like, if it actually did come down to like a quarterback duel where both quarterbacks have to throw the ball no matter what, I kind of want to say like I like the Cowboys in that situation, but it's Dak. They're two opposite quarterbacks. Dak is an aggressive quarterback, hence him leading the league in interceptions. Then you have Purdy, who's conservative. He will make the safer play. So, I don't know, but it's close. I'll give my picks for that game in a minute. I just want to wrap up I want to talk about the Eagles for a minute before I get into the playoff picks. So, without further ado, let's get right into the Eagles. So, we had a week's rest, given we had the first seed, and we're the last number 1 seed team to win the Super Bowl. Believe it or not, that's actually an interesting stat. The Giants game, like a lot of people are making a big deal about the Eagles-Giants game coming up. Now, it is a playoff game. I'm not going to underestimate the Giants at all. But keep in mind, sure, it is concerned. Sure, we made it a close game against our backups. However, that's Jalen's first game back from a shoulder injury, which Sirianni said he was playing sore that game. And on top of that, we played very conservatively. We didn't have Hurts run the ball. We didn't give away our best plays. We are saving those so there's less film to study. In other words, we played a vanilla offense, which is why the game was close. So, there's that. But we got a week rest. So, the game is tomorrow. I saw a report about teams around the league complaining about how we use the QB sneak. They don't like our technique, apparently. And NFL an NFL analyst staffer mentioned that, and I quote, "Not one team thinks it's fair." They also mentioned that every team has calmed, but you're allowed to push. So basically, they reinforced the rules so they didn't have to talk about it again. I botched that terribly. Jesus. Pretty much, teams don't like the idea that we have guys in the backfield pushing Hurts into the end zone or past the sticks. They don't like that. Well, guys around the league, it sounds like a skill issue. You guys can do it, but you can't because your quarterback doesn't squat 600 pounds. It's not just the guys pushing him, it's also the quarterback. So, you guys can easily do it if you want to, but you know you can't because you don't have a quarterback who has legs like Jalen. And because of our technique, Jason Kelce made it. Like he could not emphasize anymore. That is such a difficult play to run. It's not just, oh yeah, you just snap the ball and you lean forward. No, there's so much that goes into it. And that is why we converted 91% of the time. Out of the 32 times we ran the quarterback sneak, we converted 29 times. And I believe 2 of them that weren't converted were against the Packers, and they played it pretty well. And the one time, though, unfortunately, actually, no, I think the third time was under Gardner Minshew, who just does not know how to use a QB sneak at all. I don't fucking know. That whole Minshew thing was a headache. But thankfully, we have Jalen back. But yeah, I don't know why they're complaining. It's really successful for us. It's almost money. It's almost guaranteed. 90.6%. They can easily do it. Well, they can do it if they wanted to, but they know they can't. Because like I said, their quarterback does not squat 600 pounds. They're not as strong as Jalen. Jalen is one of the strongest quarterbacks in the league. He's up there with Josh Allen, too. And Josh Allen's, 6'5". Jalen is 6'1". But he can lift. He can squat. That's why we're so successful. So, that's it for the QB sneak rant. So, Lane Johnson will play. Hurts hasn't been on the injury report at all this week. Unfortunately, Avonte Maddox is out with a foot injury. So, the Eagles, they elevated Anthony Harris to the active roster. So, Anthony Harris did good last year. I liked him. He's been on our practice squad for a little bit now. With us elevating Anthony Harris, I like this move a lot. With Anthony Harris being elevated, that makes me think we're going to have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson playing the nickel spot, which was what Maddox would always play. And that Gardner-Johnson, he played the nickel spot a lot with the Saints. So, and he's good at it too. So, I see us moving Chauncey to nickel. And that's a good thing because I do not trust Jose Scott at all. I don't. And we can use all the depth we can get. I guess we're going to have Reed. It's either going to be Reed or Anthony Harris, unless we have Anthony Harris as a spy, possibly. But I like the move. So, Maddox will not be playing this week. I have no idea when he's coming back, actually. But we're probably going to see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the slot, which I really like. So, there's that. I don't think I have anything else for the Eagles except for my picks, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to get into the first game of the week, which is the Jaguars and Chiefs. So, here we go. So, at 4:30 on NBC tomorrow, the Jaguars are going to travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 9-point favorites. which is a lot of points. And the over-under is 53 points. This game, I don't know, actually. Hold on, let me move this logo out of the way so you can get a better view. So, here's the current playoff bracket. My gut is telling me, I don't know why. My gut is telling me that the Jaguars could potentially pull off an upset. I mean, it's Andy Reid against Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson was under Andy Reid's coaching tree. They met up once, and the Chiefs won that game. But I don't know. A lot of people think the Chiefs are going to kill the Jaguars. That's very possible, but the Jaguars are a gritty team. They're a tough team. They will not stop fighting. And that's because of Doug Peterson. He's always been that coach. Shit. I really want to... Honestly, I'm thinking about the Jags, but I'll tell you what. I'm going to pick the Chiefs, but given the line is -9, I'm going to go with the Chiefs, but I feel like they're going to win by less than 9. That's what I think. I think it's going to be a close game. Next game, we have the Giants taking on the Eagles. The Eagles are 7.5-point favorites. And I saw a stat. Teams are 15-9 in the playoffs when playing against a team that they swept in the regular season. Like teams that are up 2-0 in a series in the regular season. The last time I remember this happening, where the team that got swept won, was the Buccaneers and Saints a couple of years ago. When Brady first got to the Buccaneers, the year they won the Super Bowl, the Saints swept them. Tom Brady could not beat the Saints to save his life. But in the playoffs, the Buccaneers won, and I wasn't surprised. That's who I had that week. So that's why I always say, don't underestimate your opponents in the playoffs, especially divisional games. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. I see this being like a 28-24 kind of game, or like a 28-21 kind of game. It's going to be a close game, but I'm picking the Eagles. But because like I said, Daniel Jones, the Giants did great. They did great last week, but like I said, the Vikings defense is horrible. They're going against our defense. Our defense is a lot better than the Vikings defense, and that proved it. When the Eagles and Vikings played, we blew them out. But like I said, we can't really mention the regular season, but I think we're a better team. I just hope Jonathan Gannon has a good game plan this week, because he pisses me off. He really pisses me off. I can't stress it enough. He pisses me the hell off. So, yeah, I think we win this game. Not by a lot though. So, yeah, I'm gonna take my Eagles here. Sorry, Anthony. Next game, we have the Bengals at Bills. This will be a rematch of a game that was stopped because of the Damar Hamlin incident, who is making a really good recovery. This game will be at 3 o'clock on Sunday on CBS. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites. The over-and-under is 49 points. This is a tough game. Like I said, neither team looked well last week. They did not look good last week at all. They didn't look good. Close games against backup quarterbacks in the division, a team that you know very well, just doesn't stick with me. I don't know who to pick here. It depends on what Josh Allen we get. It really depends on what Josh Allen we get. If we get the MVP Josh Allen, the Bills are going to win. If we get the second half of the season Josh Allen, the Bengals are going to win. I can't really pick. Shit. I'm going to go with the Bills. I mean, that was my Super Bowl prediction. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to go with the Bills. And finally, we have the Cowboys taking on the Niners, one of the best football rivalries in the history of the game. Both teams have great defenses, and both teams have good offenses. The Niners are favored by 4 points, and the over-under is 46 points. I'm going to go with the Niners here. I think this game just solely depends on how good Brock Purdy is. If the Niners win this game, it's going to be because of Brock Purdy. If the Cowboys win, it's going to be because of Dak. Because the Niners' defense is no joke. So, are we going to get the Dak Prescott we saw last week, or are we going to get the Dak Prescott we saw for the majority of the season? So, I'm gonna go with the 49ers. So, yeah. If I had to give score predictions, let me do that actually. So for the Chiefs and Jags game, I'm thinking a 27. I'm really thinking like a 27-24 Chiefs game. I know you guys are probably shocked that I have it that close. Or I'm thinking of a like 31-24 Chiefs win. Eagles and Giants, I already said it. I'm thinking like a 28-24 game. Bengals and Bills, I'm thinking 31-27 Bills. And for the Cowboys and Niners, this is going to be a defensive game. I'm thinking a 21-17 game. Niners. I'm going to go 24-17 Niners. So, what do we have? We have 31-24 Chiefs. We have 28-24 Eagles. We have 31-27 Buffalo. And we have 24-17 Niners. There you go. Those are my picks. I wish I could give you everybody else's picks, but I don't know them right now. But when I stream next week, I will definitely let you know. But yeah, those are my picks this week. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys next Friday.